Hello and welcome to another episode of What's Next in Emergency Management with Michael Prasad. He is a certified emergency manager, which is a registered trademark of the International Association of Emergency Managers USA, and used with authorization. He is also the owner of both the Center for Emergency Management Intelligence Research and Barton Dunant Emergency Management Training and Consulting. This is Season 1, Episode 8, and our special guest this time is Dr. Jamla Rizek, who will discuss what she has done, and what's next for her related to emergency management advocacy research and other efforts. You can check out our other episodes and special guests at the CEMIR.substack.com.
Hi folks, and welcome to another episode of my podcast. I've written a few pieces over the last 30 days, but I've also presented at conferences, symposiums, colloquiums, and at least one live podcast episode from someone else. I've done 2 FIFA World Cup exercises, both with roles in communication systems. And I helped set up a PACE program for the Red Cross in New Jersey, one that will be all set for the World Cup matches and beyond. I've written on this already in terms of a major concept, and I'll probably put together another piece or 2 as well. Of course, all of that kind of writing about the PACE program will be after August of 2026, or maybe even into 2027. And one of those presentations was on CISMO. I'll include a link to the recording in the show notes. At the end of the presentation, I announced that the CEMIR's kickoff webinar with partner the Crisis Lab will be on August 6th now at 12 noon Eastern Time, and that's a rescheduled date. Details on how you can sign up for this free webinar, as well as express interest in other CISMO material, will also be in the show notes. My second op-ed on professionalism and emergency management has been published over at the Journal of Emergency Management. This completes a 4-part series between Dr. Jennifer Carlson and me, and also includes a rebuttal op-ed from her in the same edition as well. Links to all 4 articles will be in the show notes, and thanks to publisher Richard DeVito, all of these are available to the public online at no cost or subscription. My special guest this episode is Dr. Jamla Rizek, or as I know her, Nurse Jamla. She is one of my go-to experts on emergency support function number 8, public health and healthcare. Dr. Rizek is a certified pediatric emergency nurse, along with a number of other well-earned credentials. She holds a doctorate of nursing practice from Capella University. I asked her the same 2 questions I pose to all my guests, starting with, what have you done recently in emergency management research, writing, and advocacy?
My name is Jamla Rizek. Emergency and disaster nurse, educator, researcher, and medic are just a few of the titles that I hold. Much of my work has been focused on advancing disaster preparedness, workforce readiness, and emergency nursing education. Throughout my career, I have had the privilege of deploying in support of ESF-8 missions, including responses to Ebola screening operations, COVID-19, repatriation missions, and other public health emergencies. These experiences have reinforced for me that preparedness is not simply about having plans on paper. It's about investing in people before disasters occur. More recently, I have focused on strengthening the evidence base for disaster nursing and emergency management through research, publication, and education. I serve in editorial leadership roles within the Journal of Emergency Nursing and Disaster Medicine and Public Health Preparedness, where really the goal is to strengthen scholarship related to disaster response, humanitarian crises, climate-related health impacts, and health workforce resilience. I've also continued to present nationally and internationally on topics related to disaster nursing, humanitarian response, refugee and migrant health, and of course, public health and emergency preparedness. My goal is to bridge that gap between frontline experience and practical lessons that emergency managers, healthcare professionals, and communities can apply before the next disaster occurs. Whether through deployments, research, teaching, or advocacy, my focus remains the same, which is to help build more resilient healthcare systems and more prepared communities.
That's fantastic. I can only imagine how complex it must be to edit not only 1, but 2 separate journals on that level. So let's go to the part 2 of the question for you, Nurse Jamla. What is next? What's next in terms of writing, research, and advocacy in emergency management for you?
Looking ahead, I am focused on expanding access to disaster preparedness education for both healthcare professionals and the broader public. Through my platform, Adventures with Nurse Jamla, I am developing practical, evidence-informed training programs that translate disaster preparedness concepts into real-world skills. These courses are designed to help nurses, emergency managers, public health professionals, students, and community members better understand how to prepare for, respond to, and recover from disasters. Most people want to be prepared, but they often do not know where to start. My goal is to make preparedness approachable, actionable, and relevant to everyday life. Topics currently range from disaster nursing fundamentals and public health preparedness to climate-related health emergencies, humanitarian response, risk communication, and vulnerable communities. I'm also continuing to write, teach, and collaborate with colleagues across emergency management, healthcare, and public health. One of the lessons I have learned from years of disaster response is that no single discipline can do this work alone. The future of preparedness really depends on partnerships. Ultimately, I hope to continue building a community of professionals who are committed to preparedness, resilience, and service. Disasters are going to continue to occur, but together we can ensure that our communities and healthcare systems are better prepared to meet them. To learn more about my work and educational offerings, please visit adventureswithnursejamla.com.
Thank you, Nurse Jamla, for being on our episode. And we'll include a link in the show notes to your website, adventureswithnursejamla.com.
Hello, I am an AI-generated avatar, here to present Safer Rooms from Barton Dunant. Safer Rooms are specifically designed for commercial office buildings, offering secure spaces for both staff and visitors during various incidents, addressing all hazards and threats. These rooms can be either retrofitted into existing office spaces or purposefully constructed in new developments. To discover more about Safer Rooms, visit bartondunant.com/safer-rooms.
I found out in May of 2026 that my poster submission to the International Association of Emergency Managers USA National Conference, a non-competitive poster on the issue of Department of Labor codes associated with emergency management, was approved. So here's a short video on what exactly that poster is about, and I encourage you to come see me in person at the conference in November in Long Beach, California.
Hello, I'm Christopher, an AI-generated voice used by Michael Prasad of Barton Dunant for podcasts and recordings like this. Mike finds it much easier to type out longer statements like this than to attempt to record them himself. He usually flubs things up, and what should be a 3-minute video becomes a 4-hour exercise in futility. Plus, he typed in that he has a face for radio as well. Anyway, here's the YouTube video for his non-competitive poster for the 2026 IAEM-USA National Conference, entitled Advocate for Professional Emergency Management, Write the U.S. Department of Labor. Did you know that there is only one official job category for emergency management, and it is at the director level? Other professions, from healthcare to critical infrastructure to emergency response, all have defined worker-level jobs and supervisor jobs. This lack of recognition of our profession and its organizational structure leads to miscommunication about job posts, what the career outlook is after graduation, and more. Simple fixes can go a long way towards making this change. The public, including current emergency management professionals, can suggest new Standard Occupational Classification, or SOC codes to the U.S. Department of Labor. This non-competitive advocacy poster will explain what this means and provide a QR code for how you can do this via email, and what we recommend that you ask for in your email. This is one small positive movement step towards a better understanding by the public as to who we are and what we do. Oh look, the QR code is being displayed in this YouTube video now. Very clever, Mike. Does that mean people do not need to come to the conference and see the poster? Well, not unless they want to miss out on the opportunity to meet Mike in person, to hear him explain what all this means. He is scheduled to be with his poster, as will all the other poster presenters, on Thursday, November 10th at 10 a.m. in the conference area where all the posters are. But if you are not going or you find yourself somewhere else besides in front of Mike's poster at 10 a.m. on November 10th, which should be easy to remember, 11:10 at 10 a.m. This QR code thing is still up on your screen, so please take your smartphone's camera out and get the link to sign up for more information on how you can help reshape U.S. emergency management in the future. Thank you for both watching and listening, and Mike thanks you too.
I'm letting the What's Next podcast listeners know that my articles on the hot-button subject of a reboot of civil defense in the United States have become a personal passion of mine. What I've published so far in the Domestic Preparedness Journal, Homeland Security Today, the Emergency Management Network Substack, and at least 2 podcast episodes recorded by others is now just the tip of the iceberg. I'm continuing this work over at the CEMIR Substack. Links to all of those will be in the show notes. I would also recommend folks take a look at Quinn Lucy's 2019 essay over at the Homeland Security Affairs Journal, which is a great read on those historical elements which created FEMA in 1979 and then absorbed into DHS after 9/11. Our nation's evolving landscape of homeland defense since 9/11 has mostly been focused on terrorism, which are not acts of war last I checked. Presidential Policy Directive Number 8 replaced the preparedness mission with protection and prevention and added specific core capabilities only applicable to the threat of terrorism. I do not believe professional emergency managers were invited to discuss these changes made at the U.S. federal level, but now that a revision is being presented, I'm certainly going to be providing my 2 cents or more. And the question of why we limit what I consider an all-hazards, all-phase core capability of intelligence in the United States to only the before phase still baffles me, so much that it was my capstone thesis for my master's degree. And you will see from my advocacy work that I continue to disagree with the merging of Homeland Security missions such as interdiction, investigation, supply chain integrity and security, and some others with the work of local emergency managers, the work that they do every day. And I've said before and written before, my premise throughout all the articles, podcasts, social posts, etc. that I've done have been clear that I fully support the need for additional core capabilities to be added during wartime on the home front. But I disagree that those capabilities should be performed by emergency managers. And if you look at depth at the proposal for what is being called Civilian Support to Military Operation, or CISMO, you will see that it does not follow NIMS principles at the operational and tactical levels. CISMO is not emergency management. What you will find in CISMO is that there is an explicit higher priority for the defense industrial complex over any other community-based critical infrastructure protection, prevention, response, recovery, and mitigation. That may in fact be the goal of a nation during wartime, but from a transparency perspective, it needs a lot more conversations between levels of government and those partners who will be asked to become part of a new civil defense element. Their, quote, hearts and minds will need to be won over all over again.
Barton Dunant, Emergency Management Training and Consulting, has created a free family water safety system for use at home pools, small rivers and lakes, where there is no lifeguard present. It is not designed for ocean or large lake use and is not a substitute for learning how to swim. It's called the Smarter Water Watcher and is available for distribution by any organization, including emergency managers, at no royalty cost. All that is needed is to print and laminate 2 double-sided cards, obtain a whistle and breakaway lanyard, and watch the short training videos. While use of the Smarter Water Watcher system is at your own risk, the additional safety features include changing the way families swim and watch the water for hazards, as well as provide quick emergency instructions should they be needed. You can learn more about the Smarter Water Watcher system at www.bartondunant.com/smarter-water-watcher. Details are in the show notes as well.
Over at Medium, I've published the final 2 stories of the 4-part series I've been writing on an update to Rockwell's 4 freedoms espoused by FDR before the start of World War II. They seem quite appropriate today. The last 2 are freedom from fear and freedom from want. These are in addition to the previously noted freedom of worship and freedom of speech. I've also added part 4 to the series on my censored article on COVID-19. This one is about the 3 national organizations which should be helping all writers with their First Amendment rights in the U.S. Check out the link in the show notes to see how it's going so far for me. Looking at the CEMIR Substack, there's been a flurry of FBI cyber threat alerts, which we have amplified, and we are introduced our paid subscribers to a benefit community-wide towards an anti-swatting effort at K-12 schools and other community locations. And that is the FBI now has a virtual command center, National Common Operating Picture section for swatting. This is available, by the way, for local law enforcement agencies who have access to the leak. We've also started to cross-post the emergency management-related posts from Eric McNulty. Eric is one of the creators and promoters of the concept of meta-leadership and is currently working on his second book. And don't forget, if you're a free CEMIR subscriber, we would love if you would invite your friends to subscribe so they can read our material along with the rest of us. If you refer your friends or even your foes, you'll receive benefits that give you short-term paid level access to the CEMIR Substack. Learn more, of course, as always, from the show notes.
And as Mike mentioned, the Center for Emergency Management Intelligence Research and the Crisis Lab will be hosting a free webinar on Thursday, August 6th of 2026 at 12 noon Eastern Time. You can find a Microsoft Forms link in the show notes, as well as a QR code on the video version of this podcast episode, to sign up for the webinar and express interest in other aspects of civilian support to military operations plans in the United States. That's it for this episode of What's Next in Emergency Management with Michael Prasad. I'm Christopher, your AI voice for interludes, intros and outros, and Mike wanted to ask if you would click on that like button, subscribe to our Substack, and or repost these podcasts to help get the word out. This is the end of the audio, as there are some credits to roll on the video after this.